Thanks to our followers for this great tip request. We had multiple of our followers ask a similar type question regarding your prerequisite GPA. Versus your cumulative GPA. So, which one should you focus on? When it comes to which particular area and number you want to focus on and calculate and have it dialed in, it's definitely going to be more of your prerequisite GPA. Now, the reason behind this, your cumulative GPA, it's pretty easy. You can look this up quickly. Your prerequisite GPA, you need to calculate, and you should know this number like the back of your hand, depending on the different programs you're applying to. In general, you can have your core prerequisite GPA if you calculate your GPA using a calculator online for anatomy, physiology, physics, chemistry, biology, statistics, and general psychology. These make up what we call the core prerequisite classes that most DPT programs require. Exercise physiology is kind of on its way in there, so that may be included as well. But anatomy, physiology, physics, chemistry, biology, statistics, and general psychology are the ones we're going to stick with. So at a certain point, your cumulative GPA is going to reach a critical juncture, what's called GPA gridlock, where essentially, even if you do really well on a bunch of classes, you won't get much change for the positive with your GPA. Now, this doesn't mean that you have a license to just bomb classes because your GPA reaches a gridlock. You can still tank your GPA by doing poorly, but it's just hard to get it to go significantly higher after you get to probably the end of your junior year in college, just because you really start to see that those credits start to add up, and as a result of that, there's just less room and less mobility with your GPA, your cumulative GPA, I should say. With your prerequisite GPA, this is a much smaller amount of credits. And the big factor is many DPT programs will allow you to retake courses and have the higher grade be factored in to your prerequisite GPA. So every program is different. You need to do your homework. You need to do your due diligence to make sure that you know what's required of that specific program. But in general, most DPT programs allow students to retake prerequisite classes, and those retakes are factored into their prerequisite GPA calculation. As a result of this, even if you have multiple C's in your prerequisite classes, you go plug and chug this on a GPA calculator, you can see that even if you get like a B plus compared to a C in a class, that can drastically change your prerequisite GPA with relatively minimal effort, right? So if you retake a couple classes, you can go from maybe a 3.0 or 3.2 all the way up to a 3.4 or 3.5. Just depending on those retakes that you have and what your grades are and how many credits those classes are for as well. So those are important things to consider. Another thing that I wrote down here that I really wanted to talk about is looking at when you're going to retake your prerequisite courses. So let me give you a couple of examples here. Let's say I'm taking a course in the summer. It's a physics class that I'm retaking. And the first or the earliest program submission deadline via PTCast that I have is at the beginning of October. If I'm anticipating that my physics grade will post to my transcript that I can then send to PTCast, then at the end of August, then I know that that transcript will have enough time to be sent to them and have my finalized grade on it. Now, let's compare that to I'm taking a chemistry class in the fall, and that final grade won't post to my transcript until the end of December. But my application submission deadline is still at the beginning of October. This course will not be on my transcript when I need to submit it in order to have my application completed by the submission deadline. So again, the timing of when your prerequisites will be on your transcript is very important, and please make sure that you are timing when you're retaking these classes appropriately. If you're trying to retake multiple classes, if it's not going to factor into your GPA, your prerequisite GPA, it's not as much of a concern. But if it is going to factor in, do as much as you can to retake those classes so they can contribute to your prerequisite GPA instead of just being a waste of time and money, in addition to the effort that you're going to have to put in to have another class. So I hope this is helpful when looking at comparing your prerequisite versus your cumulative GPAs. Please don't lose sleep over your cumulative GPA. Focus a lot more on your prerequisite GPA. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't do well in your other classes. Please, please, please do as well as you can in school. It's only going to help you with your pre-PT application. GPA is largely the coin of the realm, so do the best you can. Some schools look more favorably at your prerequisite GPA and your last 60 credit hour GPA. Some schools really weight heavily your cumulative GPA. It just depends on the program. And the only way you're going to know for sure and to get the most accurate information of how they assess their applicants is to contact these programs directly and ask, how do my GPA numbers stack up with your accepted students? Obviously, you should be doing your research, looking at those statistics because those are often provided on PTCAS and the program-specific websites. So do your homework first. But if you have additional questions about how they evaluate their applicants, you definitely should reach out to them directly. I hope this is helpful. I know that your GPA can definitely be a cause of stress and concern at this point in time in the application as we're getting ready to have PTCAS open in the middle of June. And if you are looking at retaking courses, make sure that when you are going to submit your application, will allow your retake classes to be on your transcript well before you submit your application or you submit your transcript to PTCAS to make sure that those will actually factor into your GPA. And then don't stress out too much about your cumulative GPA. You're going to reach that GPA gridlock and do as well as you can in your courses. It's only going to help you, but focus more on your prerequisite GPA, and that'll help you make sure that you can have the strongest application possible. If you have questions about whether or not you should retake classes, go ahead and shoot us a DM and we can talk about some specifics related to your situation or get you set up with some coaching options if you have a more complex situation. Okay? Thanks so much. Hope you have a great Friday and happy applying.